and welcome to English with Chris. I'm sure you've all been eagerly awaiting another lesson from me, and today I'm going to teach you about some of the most commonly used phrasal verbs that we use every single day that form part of our daily routine. So I'm going to tell you a little story, a simplified version of my daily routine, and throughout this story I'm going to use many phrasal verbs. If you're not sure what a phrasal verb is a combination of a verb and a preposition, or 2 or 3 prepositions that together form an idiomatic phrase where the meaning is usually different to the meaning of the verb on its own. For example, in the morning, you put on your clothes. So you have the verb put and the preposition on, and this forms the phrase put on, which means you wear your clothes, you put them on. So whilst I'm telling the story of my daily routine, I would like you to try to make a note of as many phrasal verbs as possible that you can hear. I'll tell the story relatively quickly at first, so it'll be testing your understanding and listening skills. And then after I have told the story, I will go through each sentence and each phrase one by one and explain the meaning to you. And then at the end of the lesson, there'll be a practical interactive exercise as well, as per usual. So here we go. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. and I woke up, but I decided to be lazy and lie in until 7 a.m. When I finally decided to get up, I put on my clothes and then went downstairs to heat up last night's takeaway pizza. Disgusting, I know. After finishing off breakfast, I took out my dog Sarah for a walk, and when we got home, I got into my car and set off to work. On the way to work, I had to pick up my friend and then drop him off at his office, just because I'm a nice guy. However, during the journey, my car broke down. So I had to get out of the car and get on the bus to finish off the journey. And after a short, smelly journey, I got off the bus and finally arrived at work. I looked through my emails, and before I knew it, it was lunchtime and time to eat some real food. So I ate out with some colleagues at a local restaurant, and when the bill came, my boss paid up, which was nice of him because he's normally quite tight. By 5 p.m, I was worn out and set off home. On the way, I had to pick up a package from the local post office. When I got home, I took off my suit and turned on the TV just in time to watch the football match kick off. I started watching the football match, but I nodded off before the end and forgot to turn off the TV. I'm not looking forward to next month's electricity bill. So that's the end of my very simplified daily routine story. And how many phrasal verbs did you manage to hear and make a note of? The first one was in the sentence, my alarm went off at 6 a.m. The phrasal verb here is to go off, and this means when something sounds like an alarm or a siren or something. Next we had, I woke up but decided to be lazy and lie in until 7 a.m. There were 2 phrasal verbs here. The first one, to wake up, which I'm sure you all know. This is when you go from sleeping to being awake. You wake up. And then the next one was to lie in. And this means when you stay in bed for longer than you had initially planned. So if you plan to get up and wake up at 6 a.m, but you lie in till 7 a.m, it means you stay in bed and maybe sleep for an extra hour. Next we had, I finally decided to get up. Get up is very similar to wake up, but get up means when you actually get up from your bed and stand up and start to do things. And then I put on my clothes and went downstairs to heat up last night's takeaway pizza. So there are a couple of phrasal verbs here as well. Firstly, I put on my clothes, which I've already explained. That means you wear them, you put them on your body. And next was to heat up last night's takeaway pizza. This means when you put it in the microwave or in the oven and you make it warm again. A synonym to this can also be to warm up. So when you have some cold food and you want to make it warm again so that you can eat it, you can heat it up or warm it up. Then after finishing off breakfast, I took out my dog Sarah. 2 more phrasal verbs here as well. Firstly, to finish off, which is quite descriptive of meaning. It means when you complete the last part of something you're doing. Like you could finish off your work or finish off a meal. And then there's the phrasal verb to take out. This can have many meanings, but in this context, it simply means to take outside for some reason. In this case, for a walk, but you can also take out somebody to an event or a social occasion. It's just worth noting that many of these phrasal verbs can have many different meanings, but it's important to learn these meanings one by one, because if you learn 6 or 7 different meanings at once, it will just confuse you. So you can learn them as they come up in different situations, and that's the best way. And then we have the sentence before getting in my car and setting off for work. Again, 2 phrasal verbs here. To get in, and this is used when you enter a vehicle like a car or a taxi. And then to set off, and this is used when you leave your home to go somewhere, or in the evening maybe when you leave work to go home. So it's basically when you begin your journey to a different place, you set off. And then I had to pick up my friend on the way and drop him off at his office. So again, 2 connected phrasal verbs here. To pick up, this is when you go and get somebody and take them somewhere. For example, in the evening, you will go and pick up your children from school and take them home. And then to drop off, which is kind of the opposite of this. So in the morning, if you have children, you will take them to school and drop them off there and leave them there. This is also very common when you order a taxi or a cab. The cab will come and pick you up from your home and take you somewhere and then drop you off at that place, like leave you there. And then my car broke down. And the phrasal verb here is to break down. And the meaning of this is when some vehicle or piece of machinery stops working or functioning properly. So I had to get out of my car and get on the bus. So we have the phrasal verb get out of, which is simple. It's the opposite of get in. And this is usually used for private vehicles like cars or taxis or lorries. You get in the car and you get out of the car. However, if we're talking about public transport like buses or planes or trains, we get on the bus or the plane or the train, and the opposite of that would be to get off. So it's important to be aware of this distinction between private vehicles and public transport. For private vehicles, we get in and then we get out of, and for public transport, we get on and we get off. And after a short, smelly journey, I got off the bus and arrived at work. I've already explained get off, so we can move on to the next sentence. I looked through my emails, and before I knew it, it was lunchtime and time to get some real food. So the phrasal verb here is to look through, and this means to quickly check or read through something. Like you can look through your messages or your emails, or look through an instruction manual maybe to check how something works. And then I ate out with some colleagues at a restaurant. The phrasal verb here is to eat out, and this simply means when you go to a restaurant to eat some food there and you don't eat or cook at your home. And then my boss paid up when the bill came, which was nice of him because usually he's quite tight. The phrasal verb here is to pay up, and this is usually used when somebody pays for something in full. And there was also one word in this sentence that you might not have recognized. The word was tight. This is just an adjective, and it means when somebody doesn't like to spend their money. We've all got one of those friends, right? When it's their turn to get a round of drinks, they happen to walk off to the toilet and try to avoid paying for anything. By 5 p.m, I was worn out and set off home. So I've used the adjective to be worn out here, which means to be very tired or exhausted. And this stems from the phrasal verb to wear out. And this means to tire or to exhaust something, or to use it up to a point where it's not useful anymore. And the other one here was to set off, which we've already covered today. That means to start your journey somewhere. And then on the way, I picked up a package from the post office. We've already covered this one as well. That means when you go and get something and take it somewhere, like you pick up your kids from school, or you can pick up a package from the post office. Can you remember the opposite of this one? The opposite was drop off. So if you're posting a package, you might drop off the package at the post office. When I got home, I took off my suit and turned on the TV just in time for the football match to kick off. So there were 3 phrasal verbs here. The first one is take off. So you take off your clothes in the evening in order to be more comfortable. This is the opposite of put on, which you do with them in the morning. The next one is turn on. And this is when you want to activate some gadget or type of machinery. So you can turn on your TV or turn on your phone. And the last one here was kick off. This is often used in sport, especially in football, at the start of the match. So to kick off means to start something. And then I started watching it, but nodded off before the end and forgot to turn off the TV. I'm not looking forward to next month's electricity bill. So there were 2 more phrasal verbs here. The first one, to nod off. This is not quite as common as the rest of the ones that we've covered today. This is very common in the UK, and it means when you fall asleep. So if you're watching TV in the evening and you're tired, you might just nod off on the sofa. And then finally, we have the phrasal verb to turn off. Very simple. This is the opposite of turn on. So if you want to stop some gadget or machinery from working, you turn it off. So I hope you found that very useful. I hope you can try to start using these in your daily routine as well to make your English sound better and more native-like. And now for the practical part of the lesson. As usual, I'm going to give you an incorrect sentence. There might be some phrasal verbs used incorrectly or not used at all, and I would like you to try to use the correct phrasal verb in the correct context. So my first incorrect sentence is, I picked up my kids at school at 8 a.m. You can pause the video now to have a little think about it. So the correct sentence should be, I dropped off my kids at school at 8 a.m. My next incorrect sentence is, I like to take on a nice suit for work. So the correct sentence should be, I like to put on a nice suit for work. You take it off in the evening. My next incorrect sentence is, I got on the car and set on for work. So you can have a little think about this as well and pause the video. The correct sentence is, I got in the car and set off for work. The last incorrect sentence is, I have finally paid down all of my debts. So the correct version of this should be, I have finally paid up all of my debts, meaning that I don't have any more debts left. So that concludes my lesson on daily routine phrasal verbs. As always, if you like the video, please press the like button. And more importantly, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. It will help me so much and it will make me really happy. Thanks. See you next time.